Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, I have got the amazing duo from the Keith and the Girl podcast. This podcast has been around since 2005. It is now 15 years and still running strong and growing every year. And I'm so excited to have these two sit down with me, and they're going to just talk about everything. If you've listened to their show before, you know they're very unfiltered, and they go and they talk about their lives and they open up, and they've helped so many people along the way in their journeys. So I'm excited to bring on my guests from the Keith and the Girl podcast. I'd like to welcome Keith, Mally, and Chemda. How are you guys?
Hey, Madison. Thanks for having us. How you doing?
Hey, just living my best life. We're going to talk about everything. Let's start with Adam and Eve. The truth obviously is out there. How you holding up, Madison? You're always jovial. You're always nice. That sometimes you forget all the lessons you've learned through your interviews and just lose your shit and cry. Are you doing really good?
Yeah, I think I'm doing good. I mean, I kind of, switched off from a comedy to like a self-help podcast, so it's good. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to go back and re-listen to some of those, because some of my guests have given so many amazing tips that have helped. But I've been good. I've been trying to use this downtime, so to say, to, obviously continue the podcast, do a lot of creative stuff, and just, I think like everybody, just trying to stay positive and sane. This is a temporary situation, so we've all just got to kind of keep pushing through. But how about you guys? You guys are separate now. You've always been in a studio together.
Yeah. So it's weird. We can definitely see each other, and always grateful for the internet, because, 100 years ago when a pandemic happened, you were really isolated. And I think that's maddening. So I think the internet, the podcasting, the effort to connect and the ability to is really, really helpful. But, I miss the banter of, the random stuff that happens, that life isn't as random. You got to plan all your interactions, which could be a little distorted.
Sure. And the literal energy of, Chemda when she'd be in the studio, that kind of thing. Because it was always podcasting, we're not in the worst place with the virus, but not in the best place. Like, it would be great if I happened to own a drive-through. Imagine your life, how that turned around if you happen to own a drive-through.
Also, I think I read somewhere that Gibson Guitar has been doing their very best ever, because, like you said, in this quote unquote downtime, people are taking up hobbies and noticing in uncertainty, they can go one way or another. And they're like, well, I've always wanted to blah, blah, blah. They might be taking that on. I mean, but we're looking at the silver lining. Obviously, a lot of people are suffering, and, we're all just trying to keep to whatever we can be grateful for. So listing that, I think, is helpful.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about the podcast, you guys, because it's amazing, and it's been running for 15 years.
Yeah, it sounds crazy when people say that. I don't think even we're comfortable with that, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit, yeah.
I love it.
I think Keith has always been waiting for where he is, because he waited tables and was in the service industry for a very long time, and he was waiting for another career to outlive that. So for the longest time, it was like, well, I was a waiter for, let's say, 15 years. Now I'm a podcaster for a longer time than this other thing that I had to do.
Yeah, it just surpassed it. I remember I was 15, a dishwasher. I needed my parents' permission. And so around 30, I stopped. We started Keith and the Girl. And so, I just surpassed the old job, and it feels good.
All right. Well, congrats on that.
Thank you.
And when you guys started this, you guys were a couple.
Yes, and I did make him wash the dishes, even though he had obvious trauma from his dishwashing days.
I'm like, I don't want to take home, work home with me. And then that became something, and then it didn't work out, Yeah.
How was that so you guys were dating, and then...
It was great, Madison. We're obviously not together now. It was great.
But the podcast was, and I think we both agree that the podcast was the best part of our relationship then and now.
Yes.
And we stayed with each other a pretty long time. It was a long relationship, but we think it was a 5-year relationship ish. We think it should have cut off about 2.5 years in. And we think that the podcast prolonged it, because if you're a couple having trouble, but once a day for an entire hour, you have to make each other laugh, be on each other's side, and, do this business like that's in front of people live. You just suddenly, like, it goes away after the show. You just kind of go, oh, no, I enjoy having a time with this person, and the cycle starts. So podcasting has both been good and bad, depending on how you see it.
Right.
We could have been with other people for 2.5 years. My God.
We consider Keith and the girl our baby, and anybody that thinks, that's not a right comparison. You're right, because I see how people treat their babies. I don't care too much sometimes. But yeah, we knew we had to keep this thing going.
Well, so did you guys ever have tension when you were recording and you were just trying to keep it together for the audience?
We just yelled at each other on the show. It's
yeah. We didn't mind being or sounding personal. They didn't necessarily know to what level maybe someone was upset about something. Yeah. But no, that hour was magical. Not to be dramatic.
Yeah, because most people, when they break up, they're like, "Get this person out of my life. I'm deleting your number. Right. Don't talk to me anymore." So that's amazing. You guys were able, and you probably helped.
I mean, we've never always agreed, though, on the show or off. So we have fought on the show, whether we were together as a romantic couple or not. We've argued. We've openly fought. We try. It's almost better when you do it on air, because you can't repeat yourself. You're going to sound redundant, and it's not going to be entertaining. You can't silence your partner out. You have to actually talk it out, and then you get automatic response from other couples listening, single people, and it's almost like everybody's your therapist. They chime in and really let you know what you sound like.
Yeah.
But isn't it fun? Picture every fight you have in a couple, then the whole audience can decide who's right. That could feel good, or horrid, but
it's true. You have like an outside mediator.
Right.
In a way, just to make sure, because sometimes we say things and we're like, did that make sense? Am I making a good point?
Yeah, like sometimes a couple, you want to go, I wish someone was here to just tell me who's right. So, our audience told us to break up, and we always do what they say.
We were still in love, actually, but we just have to go with them. Ballbag 69 said we're not a good fit.
Ballbag 69. Oh, what a great username.
Yeah.
So during this, after you guys broke up, the podcast continued. It continued growing. You guys built this amazing fan base, but you both moved on with your lives, and you both got married.
Yes.
Yes, and then we both understood it was a mistake.
Because you're both divorced now, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, the audience didn't like anybody I was with.
How many people were you with?
Basically 2, but, you got to listen to the people. We're a show of the people, Yeah, we had separate relationships, and it didn't work out. Chemda's perhaps more dramatic than mine, but I just wasn't with the right person. Chemda found some shenanigans in her business.
Okay. So I want to talk about, first for you, Keith.
Yes.
You were married.
Right.
To a woman, and yes. You later found out that woman was communicating with your father. Right? And so it became this whole email.
Right. And is that funny how the way I downplayed it? No, what happened was we broke up. My dad happens to be a weirdo where, we kind of just, talk to him superficially when we want to, but he's always a dramatic guy. He became a priest before he was married for the power, not for the love of God, I'm convinced. And anyway, he likes to cause problems so that he can fix problems. And 2 years after my divorce, even though he never talked to my ex really in any way, because she's family, he still had her email address, wrote an email saying, "Hey, what happened to your relationship 2 years ago?" And she showed me this because we still talked. And I said, "You know what? Do you mind if I act like I'm you? I'll switch the email address. I'll say, oh, that's my business address. Here's my personal address. And I'll pretend I'm you." And she's like, "First of all, why are we still talking?" And she's, "Sure, do whatever you want, weirdo. It's not going to get us closer, my family being weirdos." So then I started pretending that I was my ex, and my dad started flirting with my ex, including lines such as, "You make this old man's libido jingle." But it was always me. He just didn't know it was me. That went on for a literal year. And you can see everything, by the way, nicely at keithandthegirl.com/dad, DAD. But the whole saga's right there. But yeah, no, there was no, my ex didn't actually do anything with my dad.
Okay. Yeah, that would be weird because you don't have a close relationship with your dad, I take it then.
No, I do not. That is safe to say. Yes.
Okay. Just
I can move on from I like to think I'm mature, but no, some things, just get my goat.
Yeah, that would definitely be one of them. And so do you still talk to the ex-wife?
Yeah, here and there.
Okay, and the dad is not emailing her anymore?
Which would be emailing me, but no. In fact, just the other day, I sent a letter to all my siblings and him about saying how manipulative he was since we were kids, et cetera, and that felt very good. So,
well, at a certain point, Keith did reveal that to his dad that he had been talking to Keith, not the ex-wife.
Right.
So the dad knew. Then he tried. Like, I think your dad doesn't understand technology, and he thinks that starting a brand new email instead of staying on the old chain means that old chain deletes from your brain as well as your inbox.
Yeah.
And so his dad tried to make it like that stuff never happened, talk to him and his siblings as if that never happened, even though it was emailed to him. So then after that line, he crossed a couple other lines, and Keith decided to write an email to the entire family saying, hey, here's keithandthegirl.com/dad. This is the saga as it happened. If you're interested in it, there it is. But I'm no longer interested in this behavior from our dad. Whatever your response is, that's fine. But it was this big thing, including the link. So his dad not only knows that he did it, he can't deny it because there were now witnesses on this chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's got to be. So you guys aren't having Thanksgiving dinner together?
No, and I think that was the point of this latest letter, where it's saying I can't even stomach a superficial phone call with you. I can't hug you hello and ignore the rest. This is ridiculous. I'm 46. The whole thing's ridiculous all around being 46. But no, I think that's the end of that. And honestly, it wouldn't bother me what the other kids want to do in their relationship. Nobody's close, but if they want to play the Thanksgiving game, so to speak, I'm fine with that too. But everybody needs to know where I stand.
Okay. And so do you feel like you've healed, or is this a party?
Yeah. No, I feel great. I love it.
Okay, good. Well, then that's good then. So there's always a silver lining, right? Somehow.
Sure. It's really interesting to have seen Keith in the past 15 years, and the audience has seen it also, go from describing his dad as sort of this like goofy old man who, was sort of bumbly and intrusive almost by accident because he's such a old-timey, old-fashioned conservative guy, to, oh my God, my dad was playing us in a lot of ways, and it was abusive, and we had to dig holes in the backyard when we were punished for no reason. He didn't give us a measuring tool, but expected it to be a certain measurement. We were digging holes at night. We were asked not to laugh at the dinner table or anywhere close to him hearing it. Like,
he thought it might be at his expense. So we had to, if we laughed inside, we had to go outside. If we laughed outside, we had to shut up. And when I was younger, but see, at the same time, like, it's funny because it was a weird punishment for not doing anything. We were very good kids, especially grading on a curve. But I would think other kids are getting punished in some way. This is just my punishment. But at the same time, in school, I knew if I said I'd have to dig holes, I would have been looked at as a weirdo. And no kid wants that. So it's funny that I'm like, well, it's not so crazy, but yet why didn't I say it to anybody?
Yeah.
Well,
so do you think you turned to stand-up comedy then? Because you have been doing comedy this whole time, and you released 12 specials?
I do 16, 17. I do an album every year. And
good for you.
I think it stems from that. I think that, not to be dramatic, but I definitely the podcast, if not the stand-up, but it's about honesty to me, and it's about this stupid shit that we do because of social norms that people take advantage of, and I refuse to do that. So yeah, I'm sure that's related to comedy. It's definitely related to the podcast.
Yeah, I think with these kinds of mediums like stand-up, writing, podcasting, you present it as entertainment when you're able to laugh at it and entertain with it. And the timeline between where I could laugh at something that I used to hide has shortened. Like now, I know when I bring something to the show and it could be like, I had a tumor, I had to get open heart surgery. I'm going to say it on the show and welcome all the jokes about it right away, because as soon as I tell it on the show, I'm able to let it go as like a normal thing that we can laugh at.
Yeah, and that's got to be such a healing relief too.
I don't think I could do without it.
Yeah, because it's always good to kind of release, a lot of people kind of hold stuff inside and they don't want to be viewed a certain way, or, or people to feel sorry for them or whatever reason it is. And it just kind of manifests in weird ways if you don't let it go. So this podcast is like not only hilarious, but it's very healthy for both of you.
It has been, yeah. Keith has always said, because he said taboo things, which is how this whole thing started. He used to write a blog with the stuff that you wouldn't usually admit that happens to you on dates, maybe rejections and awkward situations with your girlfriend or whatever. And he said, whatever it is that I say that I did or happened to me, there's always someone who writes in, who responds that says that happened to me too. There will never be a time where you'll say this thing happened. Someone will always relate to at least part of your story, the part that's like the core of it. They might not be the details of it, but it's in that space.
Yeah, we're not, assuming you're not killing rabbits and stuff. Everything you do, I think, and I'm making up the percentage, at least 25% of the world is can relate easily. I think
And
easily.
the killing rabbits, I think, is 3%. So
right, that's the thing. Yeah, so there's still somebody out there, and it takes us a while as an adult to to say your shit thinking you're going to be embarrassed or look at like anything. Look, my girlfriend for the longest time would worry that she's a bad mother. And I'm like, you gotta tell somebody. She was on Keith and the Girl recently and feels like a load, like a load left her, because people are like, yeah, I'm frustrated too. My daughter's this and my daughter's that. And I don't know how to necessarily relate. My point is she's in her 40s and she didn't know how good that feels, Yeah.
It really does, because there's so many people that are going through such similar things, and you can kind of lean on each other for support during this time.
Right.
Which is good. And then Chemda, you've had your own tragic. You were married.
She fucked my dad. Yeah.
I made the mistake.
Oh, she's the ex I was banging on.
Right.
So you were married and you had some tragic events happen, but that had a silver lining. So let's start there, and then we'll go into kind of what you created out of this heartbreak.
Yeah, but 4 years ago, I found out I had a tumor the size of a football pushing on my heart and lungs, collapsing my lung basically, and pushing my heart into my shoulder.
Oh my God. I'm sorry to hear. We talk less that we're not, now that we're not romantic. This is news.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I had to get open heart surgery to remove it. I had to take 2 months off, where Keith co-hosted the show with other wonderful people, and he held it down. And just as I was coming back to work and healing from the open heart, I found out that my husband was trolling Craigslist for women and had created at least a text relationship with several women, romantic relationships. And I didn't really know what to do about it, because that was like, it was starting to build up, like, not one thing happens at one time. So coming back to work was a trip, and knowing what to do about that. And that's the weird thing. Now, as I say it, I'm like, oh, I caught my husband doing this. And then I expect the next thing to be is, so we got divorced. But it took 1.5 years for me to ask him to leave after that. Because my weird disease is looking at something and looking for where it could be better. And so,
or maybe you're seeing it wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like making excuses for the person.
Yeah. So the devotion that, I think we're asked to have in a family was put on this. And I was like, well, okay, his wife was going through a tumor, so maybe that puts you in a bad space. Your isms start, bubbling to the top, and, we can pull through this together. You're going through something, I'm going through something, that deep empathy that gets used by a narcissist was textbook in all of it. So I But at the same time, I was trying to find myself. So I went back to Al-Anon, which is a 12-step program, which was very, very helpful. And I went to, after I did ask him to leave, I went to see what the Hare Krishnas are like, to chant with them. I went on a 10-day silent retreat with meditation all day. I read a bunch of books. I listened to a bunch of TED Talks, and I was trying to find, because normally when bad things happen to me, even on, this was one of the most horrific things, right? But normally when even the smallest bad thing, I start spiraling, going into a dark place, enjoying it, reveling it, pretending to be happy, and then coming home and just like, zoning. And I wanted to see if there was some other way to deal with this. So luckily, before I got the open heart surgery, when I first found out about the tumor, it scared me enough to say, hey, I've never had any physical trauma like this. And I know that you could be a very bad patient. And I was afraid to be that and to become bitter, because I could see how easily this could make me bitter. So I had already started literally looking up how to be happy. That's before the surgery. And so I was already in this spiral of maybe there is another way to handle things other than going into the darkness, enjoying it, sitting in it, and then coming out in a manic state and going at it again. And I helped get myself out of it, but it was a very, very dark time.
I mean, that's amazing that you were actually able to do that. What were some of the TED Talks you listened to and books you read that really helped you?
One of my favorite books, if not the favorite, and maybe it was because it was one of the first books, so your first hit with this knowledge, is The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. And I'm actually reading it again now. And even though I remember the theories and the general understanding of some of the stuff, it still reads like new now. And I feel like that's going to be sort of like my Bible, where people read the Bible over and over again to see what else they find out. I think this is it.
What's the best pillar?
Good question.
Which one's the best pillar?
Yeah.
Which
one do we like?
I haven't even memorized the pillars. To me, it's not like it's the pillars are not a step guide to how to be happy. It's just sort of like, and it's so much information that I can't even regurgitate it, but it does all come down to the self-esteem, and self-esteem comes down to how do you respond to life, not what happens to you. So you can't stop bad things from happening, but you can control and decide how you're going to respond to them a little bit more than we're aware of, maybe.
Right, which is a big thing, because I think people become reactive versus responsive. And it's easy to
and it's easy to do.
Yeah, because something happens, you're just like, ah! But instead of just sitting back and being like, okay, how do I properly respond to this? So that's good. So the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and who is the author?
Nathaniel Branden.
Nathaniel Branden. Okay, I'm definitely going to get that book. Have you read it, Keith?
No, but that's the beauty of knowing Chemda. I have,
regurgitate it.
Yeah, I mean, if I bought 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, I'm like, tell me the 6 pillars, but I bet it's a full book and it's a big trick. But Chemda takes the time, and then I get all the benefits.
That's true, and then I get to know about football, so it's an exchange of information.
Right. That's right. I go, football, NFL, and their end zone now has a sign that says "End Racism," and now she knows that, and then I learn all about well-being.
You're right. So it's a perfect balance.
Yeah. Simpatico.
Perfect friendship podcast relationship you got going here. So were there any other ones?
I'm sure there are. Radical Acceptance. And there's a book called Boundaries, which is interesting because it has a lot of reference to Christian quotes, biblical quotes, and I'm an atheist. I grew up Jewish, and I think this book is so good that I still can't help but recommend it, even though, I have a lot of thoughts about religion that are not, the nicest. But I think you can take it as a Christian. I think it would help because it has those things. But if you're atheist or any other religion, it's easy to skip over that parts and still get this beautiful message for people who think they're helping and want to know why they always end up frustrated, and it seems like people are taking advantage of them and they're exhausted and say no when they mean yes and yes when they mean no.
Yes.
This is a really good book.
Okay, so I got to get that one too. I've got a full reading list now. And so then let's talk about the creation of this new program that you developed.
Well, also that's the beauty. Sorry, it's called OMAT, 1 minute at a time, but that's the beauty of it. She did the work. She did the books and the talks. I just show up for a couple of minutes a day, but she'll explain.
You're like, download.
Yeah.
This the 4 years that I've had accumulating this information. I didn't stop. I became even more and more curious, and there were themes that kept coming up. I looked up, how CEOs were so successful, and how Buddhists were so calm. And the number one thing that came up, number one and number two, was gratitude and meditation. And it's just, to see like a CEO talk about how busy they are and blah, 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 but they make time in the morning for 15 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour of meditation, whatever it is, you can't help but think like, I guess I got to try this. And the gratitude list, and basically the themes that kept coming up that were essential in a way that maybe we didn't learn in school, or maybe it was skipped over. Like, we did have gym, and we were taught physical education in a way, but why do we think that it's an option to work out or not? You have to use your body. So these were necessary tools in order to maintain life as pleasurable or as manageable as you can. And so I found that these 8 exercises that are part of 1 minute at a time were the essentials, the things that if you can take a little bit of time to do, that this little bit counts, and that, you can't look around and go, well, I can't meditate for an hour, so I can't meditate at all. And, everyone's so comfortable meditating, and then it's just overwhelming and it seems out of reach. So I broke these things down into 1 minute exercises that you can do just 1 minute a day of gratitude. And then the next week, 1 minute a day of meditation. Then the next 1 minute a day of planking for as long as you could stay up in that 1 minute. And there are 8 exercises, like I said. So what we do in OMAT Club is we meet at 7 and 10 or 10 a.m. Eastern, and I run you through all 8, so that your 15 minutes is me guiding you through all 8. There's a writing, and I prompt a little bit. There's a connection, something to do about your procrastination. All 8 exercises gets worked out. And if you have an extra 5 minutes after that, we hang out a little bit and talk. People say how they, use the program outside, or how they thought about their planking, or what the gratitude has done. They ask questions, but that's, sort of an extra if you want to stay for the after hours of the club.
That is so cool. So how do people find this and sign up for this?
Sorry, it's private. I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? Take a look at Keith and the Girl.
Club.
Right. It's members only. keithandthegirl.com/OMAT, OMAT, and you'll see what's going on there.
Yeah, and everything is on our website at keithandthegirl.com. And right now there is a banner for that OMAT club that you can click on, but you could always go to keithandthegirl.com/OMAT, OMAT, for 1 minute at a time.
I mean, that's such a great thing, because I feel like people get intimidated by meditation, thinking, when I get up in the morning, I just need to get in the shower and get out the door and start my day. But if you think about it, you can set your alarm for 1 minute earlier and get up and do that. And
yeah.
But it feels counterintuitive. I totally get, pushing back against meditation. It feels counterintuitive to fill your day and, manage time as best you can, get as much as you can done, or sit here and do nothing, allow nothing to happen, follow your breath. Like, how is that going to help me? But it's been proven over and over again that the breaks that you take, the meditation that you have, that distance between project to project is actually helpful for moving your life and your goals forward.
I think the biggest one personally for me, well, at least right now, it changes, but right now it's the gratitude section that Chemda does. And you know what? We would celebrate once a year. Chemda and myself would go to a nice dinner that we normally wouldn't go to once a year to celebrate our podcast. Other than that, though, I never really focused on, hey, this is what I did all day. And congratulations on, I do put out an album every year, or I do that. And, good, good. I put it on Instagram if you want, but at least take a second for yourself to go, you know what? I did do that and I earned the right to be happy about it.
And has that helped you a lot?
Yeah. I'm just happier. And I'm like, oh, good. And then that, keeps you wanting to do more. And then you're happy about that. And you just, next thing you know, you tricked yourself.
Right. And then you wrid another comedy album, right?
Yes. Right. Then you have sex with your dad virtually. Yes.
Okay. All right. Here we go. You did say you would. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. So let's go back to the podcast real quick. What was one of your most memorable episodes that you had?
There are a bunch, I would say. There are like happy ones where the first time we found out that somebody got a Keith and the Girl tattoo.
That's exciting.
That is exciting.
Oh, we just got a new one today, actually.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're somewhere over 150. It's almost feels like the first time every time.
And then there were the creepy, scary ones that we used to have, a regular guest on the show that we found out had been scheming and just a general sort of shisty person. And we knew we had to call her out because otherwise she would have access to more of those schemes. So that was disturbing. There's one that people that people call out, like whenever we fight. That's one that people really like.
Yeah, people really like drama. I think that's why reality television is so popular.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, and we also have our recent partners. We had them on together, and we had a newlywed competition for who knows each other more.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
That's fun. So you mentioned your partners. Who are these partners?
Kyle is my girlfriend, and Chemda sings Xerxes. And so far,
your actual physical
doing well.
Okay.
Yes. Sexual intercourse style. Yes.
Okay, I was like partners in the podcast. Is there like a more? Okay, got your. Okay,
fair enough. Yeah.
You're both getting laid.
Yes. Thank you for asking.
Okay, good. That's healthy. I guess it's good for your immune system. I better.
Hey, 1 minute at a time.
Exactly.
and as soon as I'm done having sex, I take out a pen and paper. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "A gratitude list. It's important."
Yeah, right.
Your face, your body, your.
There you go. Right. It keeps you getting laid. Right.
Right.
So that's great. So how do you guys? You guys are doing this so often. Like, how are you preparing? Is it kind of you wake up in the morning and you look at the news and you're like, or is it something that happened the day before?
It's both. It's both. The news never ends. I don't know if you've been seeing on TV or the internet, but there's never a shortage of stuff to talk about. And then personal stuff, life doesn't cut you a break, even if you got it all figured out. And so, there's always stuff to talk about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And has there ever been anything that you're like, I can't go there. I can't talk about this.
I would feel like there must be, right? Or I'm insane.
I feel like if we ever lean that way, it's probably because we're being kind to our loved ones.
Yeah, or it's somebody else's story.
Yeah,
so to speak.
it's the privacy of someone else. So our partners know, our lovers know that we are going to talk intimately about ourselves and about them, but we try to keep a line for other people. And also, like, I don't know, some stuff might be private just because it's going to be boring and not entertaining. It's, you can come into my life, but I'd like to edit it for you.
Yeah.
I don't need to reenact all of Cobra Kai for the audience,
Yeah, exactly. So have you guys been binge watching a lot of things during this whole crazy?
Oh, yeah.
Cobra Kai.
So that's apparently number one. I haven't seen it yet.
It's because of people like Keith who hate watching it.
Oh, because I was 10 when I saw Karate Kid movie. I feel like I got to watch this stupid TV show in my 40s. Oh, it's horrid. And then I talked to people that binge watch TV
episodes. Okay.
Yeah, 2 seasons, 20 episodes. I don't think I was happy for one single show. I don't know why I had to watch it like work again. I think because I took karate as a kid. I loved it so much. I can relate with waxing on and waxing off. I had to do a lot of physical work when I was a kid at home. I'm like, I could paint fences. I get that. I'll be a black belt. Yeah, I think people watch these shows, they say it's good, but I think they're really like walking around their house and like doing dishes and,
It's
reshaling the
background noise.
driveway. It's background noise. Yeah. I talked to my brother who said he saw the whole show, and I go, "Oh, remember this scene?" He's like, "Oh no." And I'm like, "That's the only one you would remember." I'm like, you can't just have it on and then check the box and then recommend it for nostalgia reasons.
Is that how they get those ratings? On
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know. They don't check your eyes.
They don't. So you have to hit recommend.
No, you just
Oh,
play it.
okay.
And then it keeps going to the next one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's no way more than I alone, Keith Malley, paid attention to that show. There's no way.
Oh, I'm sure there's a bunch. I mean, have you
I-
talked about it on the podcast? What have your
Yeah, people go, "Yeah, you're right. I slept through it. You're right. I built a car outside."
Yeah, it's like the background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has it been? Okay, so you guys have been podcasting separately during this time. How has the fan, because you guys are very good about interacting with your fans, and you've built this whole community platform, and you include them and you allow them to interact with each other. How have you seen like the fans kind of through this, like emotionally? Has it been a lot of kind of darker stuff or more positive stuff? Like what's kind of been the
I
reaction?
think I think it's been the same thing. So, like you said, the community is always talking to us and each other. And I think that as their stuff gets difficult, whether it's during the pandemic or not, they're always sharing it with each other. On our forums, there's always a thread about like, hey, what's up with your life right now? So there's a thread about COVID right now there. And it's just a sharing of information. They expect when they press play that even if horrific things are happening, that we can find some sense of humor in it. So I think we're all trying to laugh as much as possible. We also set up every Wednesday night for there to be, there's always a chat happening that people can just come in and start chatting with each other. But Wednesday night is a chat party. We come in, there's a bunch of people who come in and we just talk to each other. We start a poker game if you want to join, but if not, we're still chatting. And so we're watching, we're playing, we played other games, drawing games, and just keeping like it's any other community. You
Great.
don't have to go to Sunday church in order to feel in the spirit of a community.
Right. No, absolutely. And do you feel a lot of your listeners have actually joined your OMAT program?
Yeah, they have. It's been really great. We've got really good feedback from it. It's been great to meet and have the accountability of, okay, no matter what I did today, I have these 15 minutes where I did these 8 exercises that ground me, that let me know a little bit more about myself, but it's gentle enough that we're not beating ourselves over the head with moving forward and getting better. And it's just, this is what we're doing. We got together so that we can help each other do it. And it's working.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, that's amazing. So this has been 4 years, right?
It was 4 years that I got the diagnosis, and I released the original OMAT program itself this past January 2020. And we started the OMAT Club where we meet for 15 minutes and run the whole thing about 3 or 4 months ago.
And that's every weekday.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this was always needed, right? But like it's needed more so than ever.
I think it's the consciousness of needing it now. I think if you always need something, this pandemic forces you to consciously be aware of it, maybe in a more unanimous tone.
No, that makes sense. Absolutely. And you've been on board the whole time, Keith?
Yeah, and it's helped, of course. Everybody's going crazy. I have the step kids, but I don't really have to take care of them the way my girlfriend who lives separately does, of course. And still, the world's nuts. Now, picture you have kids, and you got to debate about COVID in school, and you got just anything. Everybody's job is up in the air. Again, unless you own a drive-through, it's not a good time to be alive. This centers yourself, makes you realize what is good, what you do have, and you don't even have to reach. Well, I have a TV. Maybe it starts there, but then you start realizing the other good things, and you don't find yourself just crawling out of your skin. I love it.
Oh, well, that's great. So what are you guys most grateful for? What seems to be the common theme that comes up every day when you're doing this?
I'm grateful there's not a season 3 of Cobra Kai.
Okay. And you?
The regulars that come up are the podcast and, the people around them that I have. This co-host who's cool with me being in the closet because he understands I can't be there. The boyfriend who turns on, the OMAT thing and has to wake up early because we live in a studio apartment and has decided to help me with all of my business while this is going on and beyond. So Andrea, our producer, my brothers and their family, that they have each other. I just like list them. Like, I'm so grateful that they have all these people in their little bubble of connection. And I think those are my usual. The internet, I always thank the internet, Netflix, things that keep me sane, baths, whatever it is. And I've been able to pay whatever I need to pay to live. I know some people are out of work. So
I just want to be clear. Chemda said baths. We're still anti-bath.
First I
here.
thought she said baths, and I was like, I gotta go back to that. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. Right.
Sorry, my English no good.
No, that's great. And so are you guys going to, when there's a vaccine and comedy comes back, are you guys gonna, because were you guys doing live audience shows?
Yeah, my yearly stand-up show once a year, and then around that we have Keith and the Grow events, whether it's game shows or meetups. Otherwise, yeah, of course, yeah, we would do all that. Life would be good again. Yeah.
But now we have a once a month game show that we run called Silent Trailers, where I describe we get a bunch of comics in a Zoom room virtually. You could see them all, and I describe movie trailers that are on silent that nobody else can see. And everyone is a team against Keith, and they try to guess which movie I'm talking about.
When I was a kid, instead of understanding empathy or emotion, I was watching movies my whole life. So I'm good at this. And the funny thing is that Chemda did the opposite. No, I learned about empathy and feelings and getting to know people, and didn't watch any movies, doesn't know celebrities. So for her to describe a trailer is hilarious because she has no idea what she's watching until she watches it for the first time. Then she'll guess it's a celebrity, and if she's like, all right, this is Tom Hanks, that doesn't mean it's Tom Hanks. Could be Colin Farrell. It could be Nicole Kidman, for God's sakes. And it's very, very fun.
So that's every Wednesday, once a month, you guys, or
that's once a month. Yeah.
Okay. And so people can go to keithandthegirl.com and they can sign into this. Is there an admission fee, or is it free for people to join?
So that's our once a month live show. So that's a ticketed event, but all of our VIP members, they have a free ticket to that show.
Oh, that's awesome. And so you say VIP members, for people that are haven't heard of you guys and want to start following the podcast and start following you guys, what do they get if they're a VIP member?
A hearty handshake virtually, and every show we've ever done for 15 years, the spin-off shows we do, me and my youngest brother, there's 5 of us siblings, we do a show called Daddy Issues, where we talk about our dad and ridiculous ways we grew up. But a bunch of spin-off shows. So
we have
all
a wrap-up
stuff.
show. We have a once-a-week wrap-up show. We have Keith with his buddies, Diamond Dogs. What's my name? My name is Keith. We have a bunch of extra content there. And then we also give you bonuses like a free week of OMAT, or 25% off the store, a ticket to our live event. And so we just try to, it's like a Patreon, and we try to pad that VIP program as much as possible so that people could really get everything out of it. It's the thing that keeps the show going the most.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's just amazing that you guys have built such loyal fans, and that they're there and they want to support you guys, and you guys support them by providing content that, puts them at peace or entertains them when they're driving or at the gym or whatnot. So where do you see this show in 5 years?
Oh man.
hopefully in person. Hopefully Chemda and I in the same room. I don't know.
I always have ideas. I
Chemda
always
has
have
ideas.
so right now, once a year, we do a 24-hour podcast marathon. We're live for literally 24 hours with,
What?
with 100 guests coming through. We basically switch guests every 20, 30 minutes. And then once a year, we have
Our record, may I brag, Madison? Our record is 76 hours.
Yes.
With no sleep.
Right.
Well, 76 hours we took turns or whatever, but with 24
Okay,
hours, we
like, is
didn't.
there cocaine coming through here? Like,
There-
hang on a second.
I was definitely smoking weed through this last 24 hours. What
Yeah.
else is there?
We'll
Oh, yeah.
try, like I know, like we'll try to take an hour or two break and have a bed set up, but you hear everybody laughing or playing a song in the next room, and you're just like, okay, what am I doing? I can't.
It's so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And so-
once a year we have a week long of events, and we have our Kickstarter annually to keep it going. But I have ideas like, we did a Keith and the Girl tour one year. I want to do Keith and the Girl camp. We did a cruise. We did a dodgeball tournament in Canada with a weekend of events. So there's always something.
That is so cool. So yeah, that's the thing is in 5, like what's next?
Yeah, if we can, like Keith said, us being in the same room and not worried that one of us will die and it'll be me. After that, I'd love to see Keith and the Girl camp come out.
Sure. What's next? I guess wait until the borders open, and then we'll see. But yeah, Chemda always has ideas. In fact, we'll finish a 24-hour marathon. Chemda goes, okay, so for the next one, I'm like, shut. We're done doing anything forever. Like now's not the time, right? But she's always thinking.
Oh my God. I mean, that's just so cool. So when you say camp, would it be like an adult, like slumber party, woods, outdoorsy camp?
Yeah, but not too outdoorsy. I feel like not everybody is up for that kind of griminess, but cabins and food that is prepared, but also a campfire and like canoes if you want, or just sit by a tree. But also Keith and the Girl events that you can opt in for. So, if you're outdoorsy, it's good for you. But if you just want to like, be with a couple people here and again, that would be good. Just a very adult, fun, the way you want it event.
Yeah, right. It's almost like adult summer party or like summer getaway camp. I always see these camps where we go to this lake every August in upstate New York, and there's a couple summer camps, and you always see the kids that are out, living, they're in their cabins, making friends and doing all these fun activities. And I was like, there should definitely be this for adults.
Yeah, right. And we got this because we go for once a year. We go on a group camping trip, and we've been doing it for years. Keith has been a part of it for most years you come. Sure. And it's just a bunch of us making food and sitting around all day. Like you said, a slumber party outdoors.
And do you guys sleep in tents? Do you bring an RV?
Mm-hmm. We bring tents. We wouldn't ask our audience to do that, but yeah, it's pretty easy.
Oh, that's great. So do you go to a campsite where there's the showers and a toilet, or are you?
Hell yeah. We are all camping princesses. I mean, when we say camping, people think rugged, and it is it's all relative. So yes, a couple of us will pee outside, but if you walk a little bit further, there is a bathroom.
But you do need sandals in that public bathroom. So it's still roughing it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess really roughing it is when you got to find a log to sit over to, you know what? That's when you're like, okay, we're definitely in the woods.
You got to put your shit up in a tree so that the bears don't eat your poop.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole thing.
No. Yeah, right. I never even thought about that. Yeah, I was like, I need to go camping more. I need to be more. I've definitely gotten more outdoorsy, I think, through this whole Corona thing.
Through the mandate? Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, I always thought I was like this kind of city, just always like around. I needed to be around people and crowds, and that was like the suburbs like freaked me out, and this whole thing spun everything on its head. I was like, oh my gosh, space in the suburbs, like this is so fun.
Oh, look, outdoors. What?
Yeah, because I actually went back to Colorado for the majority of it, and
good for you.
Thank you. And I felt that was definitely what been on my gratitude list if I was doing one. But people had backyards, so it made it to where you could still see people at like a safe distance, and you felt like you were still interacting without totally interacting.
Yeah, I'm lucky, and Keith also. We're lucky to have separately, of course, because we don't live together. We're lucky to have outdoor space in New York City,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
very rare. Yeah.
Because you guys are both in Queens?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm in
Okay.
Long Island City, and he's in Astoria.
Gotcha. Yeah. So outdoor space, especially in the city, is so key.
Yeah.
To get out there. And so what have you guys been doing to stay, before like we wrap up, I want to know, like, what have you guys been doing to stay healthy, and what are kind of some of your regimens that you're, you know,
What
besides
it
the
really is, it really is OMAT for me. It really is
okay.
in the morning, gratitude, connecting with people, and now it seems a little harder to connect with people, but if anything, you almost have a little more time. So,
Yeah.
I find myself calling that person who we're both probably thinking like, it's probably their fault. Even though you were best buddies, you're going to get tattoos together.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, at this point, now I'm just a weirdo to call. No, just call. That's what I do. And I'm like, hey, whose fault is it? Yours or mine? Probably yours. Anyway, I'm the bigger man. How you been? And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I just rekindled a year-long friendship. And that kind of stuff is, it's not. I know our generation, I believe, you were called pansy or something like this for being into yoga or meditating or taking the time. I have to connect with somebody today. It changes your life. That's what I do to stay sane.
Yeah. Well, good. And how about you?
Same also, I've been trying to stay as conscious as possible to make dates with people so that we can connect, because if I don't make the date, like Keith will feel comfortable and connect that way, and I will do it and have to set a date for us to meet, or I'll let time again pass by. So I try to make sure I put it on my calendar with them. And a lot of bike riding. My boyfriend and I got a bike, and we rode like 100 miles last week because we had a little bit of time off, and
Oh,
that's
nice.
and because of being compromised, we can't go to inside of anywhere. So this has been really great. We take our bike and we go to Brooklyn for a slice of pizza, or like Manhattan for a cookie or whatever, just to give an excuse to get the distance going, and
Yeah.
be outside.
Imagine you bike ride. She bike rides to the bottom of Brooklyn and the pizza's burnt.
Yeah. I think
She's like,
after
I need an extra minute.
yeah, if you've rode that many miles, you're like, I don't care what I eat at this point. I'm starving.
Right.
I think that's the good part, because Keith has asked me, he's like, what if you get there and it's not as good as you thought? I'm like, I just rode 8 miles.
Yeah.
So, and it's pizza in New York. It's gonna be good.
Right.
Trust me, pizza in New York is a lot better than pizza in Denver, if it makes you feel any better.
Thank you.
Somebody ordered pizza when I was home, and it was, I think it was Papa John's or Domino's, one of those.
Okay.
Chains. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, this is what we got here. This is the best you could do.
Oh, that's not pizza. I'm not saying I don't
No,
eat
not at all.
Domino's, but when I eat Domino's, I call it Domino's, not pizza.
Right.
Exactly, and you'd have to be super high.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
good call. Yes.
You're like, I don't know what I'm eating, but I know. And that's the thing, is I can't smoke weed because it makes me just pass out. And I go to sleep and I can't talk, or I'll get vertigo. So, and of course I was in Colorado and I didn't get to participate in the economy.
Right.
I never even went to a store, but you know what they also legalized there was mushrooms.
Have you tried it?
So I've done micro dose of a mushroom.
Oh,
and
nice.
I like it because it just makes you super happy, but it doesn't make you tired. And I was
Have you microdosed, or you use just one microdose?
Somebody said this is a microdose pill and gave it to me, and I was stupid enough to be like, "Oh, I trust you," and took it. But I was fine, thank God. So I should look at it more carefully next time. But
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I microdose heroin just a little bit, keeps me level. Medical heroin.
I megadose weed, but it's been very helpful.
Yeah,
feels good. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is if you can handle it and it keeps you awake, it's a very good calming source for a lot.
It is.
People.
It is. It used to make me tired, and I would use it to sleep. Now, with a regular use of it, it sort of changes it, and it keeps that it mellows, and then I'm able to use the energy because I could pick from it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No,
maybe,
that makes sense.
yeah.
So you kind of had to build up a tolerance for your marijuana usage.
Yeah, it sort of happened because I did use it to go to sleep, and I would only use it at home because I couldn't manage talking to people on it. And then I tried it in the morning for morning yoga, and that became a thing. And I started matching it with my lifestyle better, and it became part of it. And it does feel really good, and I can speak. I've been high this whole time.
You can't even tell. Like you're just calm, cool, and collected.
That's
I
me.
love it. So, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Before we go, I just remind everybody, obviously, keithandthegirl.com is where they can find you. That's all your social media handles as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're Keith and the Girl on every podcast platform. So wherever you're listening to this, you can search for Keith and the Girl.
Perfect. Okay. And then do you guys want to plug your individual Instagrams and Twitters?
I think you'll see everything there. But yeah, look for Keith, look for Chemda. But we're Team Keith and the Girl.
Okay, I love it. And all the links and everything, you guys will be on our website at Next to Madison, so you can easily find them and then go to their podcast and subscribe. You guys won't be disappointed. So I think we're going to get some new Keith and the Girl fans.
Thanks,
right.
Madison. Appreciate it. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, you guys too. And stay safe. And again, Keith and Chemda, thank you, or Chemda, thank you so much for sitting down with me and taking the time to share kind of your COVID journeys and how you're staying sane and your journey.
It was fun talking to you.
Best life, best life, best life, best.
And you guys at home, thank you so much for, or wherever you are in the car or the gym or wherever. Thanks again for listening to another episode of Next to Madison, and we'll see you guys next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.